So this assumes that you've got a radio, any radio in the last 20 or 30 years actually. You've got a radio and you've got an internet connection, okay? And from there we'll build up. And what I'm going to cover on this video is how to get to your screen from your remote location, the prerequisites in terms of being able to do rig control, basic rig control, frequency up, down, volume, RF gain, things like that, with some software. And the idea behind all this, it's got to be free, okay? Now, what confuses some people is the audio, so we're going to cover that as well. There's about 3 schools of thought when it comes down to remote control. The way I do it, briefly, is I use either remote desktop, some sort of remote desktop software, and there's VLC LAN, there's TeamViewer, there's Chrome Remote Desktop, Microsoft Remote Desktop. There's all sorts of programs to allow you to remote control your shack. That is the one I'm going to be dealing with today. There are other technologies where you can buy one radio here and a dummy radio here and connect the two up. Flex have got an out-of-the-box system. There's all sorts of other ways you can do this. What I'm talking about is that you haven't got any of this hardware. You want to play with it and just see what it's like, okay? The final part of the jigsaw is, once you really get into this, is that you might want to switch it on and off at the mains, and I'll cover that as well. So, first things first, you've got your radio and you've got your screen with your logging software on it. We want to imagine that you're not allowed to touch your radio. So if you can control your radio from your computer, you're 99% of the way there. So this assumes that the computer itself has got like a USB or some sort of RS-232 serial port to the back of your radio. Number one, because then you'll be able to use Ham Radio Deluxe. If it's any of the Kenwoods, they do some custom software, ARCP they call it, ARCP 990, 590, there was a 2000 version, and I use that. So I'm going to just fire that up because that'll give me my basic rig control. However, Ham Radio Deluxe, Log40M, even N1MM itself has got frequency control and some basic filters. Right. This is what you can see on the screen now is my ARCP software. This is my screen here. And most modern radios also have, so if you're in the last 5 to 10 years now, you will very often have a DVI out on the back of the radio. So we can intercept that. And I use a little program. It was free at the time. It's not supported anymore. It's on my site because I was worried I would lose it. And it's called CamDesk. And CamDesk takes any USB type webcam and puts it on your screen. So the DVI out, we need to put into an HDMI capture card. And there's some quite cheap HDMI capture cards. So we've got DV to HDMI, capture card, USB into the back, and it looks now like a camera. So I'll show you what CamDesk looks like. And that's my screen. And we can maximize it and make it big, we can make it smaller, or we can right click it and go to the preferences. I unpin it from my desktop, and I normally have mine at 640 by 444. It's just about the right size because I can hide it quite nicely behind here with all the other stuff I do. All right. So that gives me my waterfall, and it looks pretty and that sort of thing. Not mandatory, but it's nice to have. CamDesk HDMI capture card. So ARCP and a lot of the manufacturers have got a bit of software that you can control your radio with. I think Icom and Yaesu have got that as well. All right. So you can either have a little custom thing from the manufacturer or the generic one, Log40M, Ham Radio Deluxe, and that sort of thing. When in the main, they do everything. I can actually do everything on here that I can do on my radio. So I'm on 4080. If I click that, it'll go 4090. And so on, up and up and up. So I've got a repeat here on the left side of CamDesk. I'll just leave CamDesk running there. And we have been interrupted. And so you can see where I'm going to come from now, can't you? So assuming we can not touch the radio, but touch the screen. It means we can go anywhere else in the world, use a remote desktop, and to start with, I just used my Google account and used Chrome Remote Desktop. So from here, we've got to set it up. Now, you just run Chrome Remote Desktop and say, yeah, you want to log into it. I can't actually remember what I did, but it's extremely simple. So when you go home, you fire up Chrome Remote Desktop, and it knows that you've got Chrome Remote here, and it's the same account, and it knows you've got Chrome at home, and it says, do you want to connect to this machine? You say yes, to put a PIN number in, and it will connect. It's already authenticated you because via your Google account. Right now, I have moved on from there to TeamViewer, but I notice Jeff in Hoy, he's using, I think, VLC something. I can't remember. At £2, 90 or something, $3 a month. While I'm here, because we want to go home in a minute, and I'll show you how it works there, because I want to do the audio. Once you can get to the machine itself, you can do all sorts of tinkering behind the scenes. You can dial in, switch off the radio, switch on the radio, and so on and so forth. Because I want to get to the audio. But before I get to the audio, I want to talk about lots of different ways to switch things on and off. You might have a power supply that you want to switch on, which works your radio, and you might have your computer that you want to switch on as well. I use Shelly products. I've got a Shelly 4PM over there, which drives 4 plug points, my linear amplifier, my PC, my radio, and the 12-volt power supply, which in the main I don't need, but it supplies power to a few odds and ends. Now, they are extremely easy to fit. They're about £15 each if you buy the Shelly one, but I bought a nice big pack thing for $99, pounds, whatever. This, which is a really cool piece of equipment, and then we've got 4 plug points at the bottom. So the reason for the 4 is I've got 4 master pieces of equipment we need to switch on. And to do that, we've got a little app on my phone, But that's how to switch things physically on and off from your phone. So I can be at home, I hear, I get a message that is anybody on 40 metres, I'm on such and such a frequency. I can get my phone out, put the radio on, and boot my computer up. How do you boot your computer up in the shack is if you go into the BIOS settings, as it's assuming this is a PC, not a Mac. As it boots up, I think you hit the delete key or F2 or whatever it is, and you get into the settings, before it even hits the operating system, and you will find in there power recovery mode, something like that. And you want to select, basically switch on every time you see power, okay? So if there was a power cut now, and then it came back on 2 seconds later, this computer would reboot. It wouldn't just sit off. Right? So all I need to do is switch off at the end of the day, and then switch off on my phone. And then when I want to remote into the machine, I just get my phone out and apply power to the machine, and it just comes up. Right. So far, so good. Now, if you've done FT8 on your machine, and I'm not saying it's mandatory, you have to do FT8. This is Wendy on the phone. Hang on.
Hello. When you've got a spare minute, will you just pop over and have a look at something for me?
She wants me to go and see her, but we'll do that in a minute. I can't remember where I was getting to here. Yeah, okay. So we've done, you can control your radio. So the test is, can you control your radio locally from your PC? Once you can do that, you're there. And if you can do FT8, we've got audio as well. All right, that's the important thing. So just get FT8 working in the background. Another tip, by the way, if you go into your sound command, I think this is Windows 11, but if you go into your sound card settings, so this one here, for instance, you can rename it, okay, and you can give it a specific name. So you'll notice on my sound cards, I've got, there it is there, USB 4 audio is, I've called it the 990, and same for the microphone. Somewhere around here. There it is there. TS990. It's so that when we get into the software to do the remote audio, you won't be hunting around going, what blooming sound card is it? Okay, so that's the important thing. So I'm not going to labour the point. once you can just drive your machine without touching the radio, and you can do FT8. You've got Chrome Remote Desktop ready. Optionally, and by the way, you don't need, as a test, you don't need all the relays to switch it on and off. You are going to a different location, all right, on holiday or something. Maybe just say to one of the family, can you go in and switch it on? Or leave the bloody thing on. I mean, I don't care. It's a test, isn't it? But what you can do, if you've got yourself an old laptop, you could just sit next to your machine, hotspot it, so you know you're definitely coming in from the outside world, and see if you can control your radio. The big stumbling block for a lot of people is sound. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go back to the house. We will remote into here, and we'll play sound and push to talk. All right? So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I'm at the house, and we're going to do audio and push to talk. Now, I used to get really confused because I thought that the remote desktop software should also do the audio, and I spent a lot of time on that. And in the end, it can do, actually, depending on which technology you use. But it's better to use something independent. So you can create 2 Skype accounts. One's called Remote M0ABC. One's called, PC or Radio M0ABC, whatever you want to call it. You create 2 Skype accounts. And basically, you configure one at the other end to auto answer. So when you call yourself, it will just auto answer. And then you can configure your sound card. If you remember from previous, I've got mine called 990. You can configure the microphone and the speaker to be the 990, and you can now talk to your radio. Right, alternative, if you've got a reasonably good connection and maybe even a 2 VFO radio, I gradually migrated to something called Sonobus, which I'll show you in a moment. Skype thing works. You can also create a private Discord server, completely free, and you can create an audio channel. And then you have 2 Discord accounts, remote and local, whatever you want to call it, with a different email address I think you need. And you can have that. You just remote desktop in, set up Discord, connect remotely, and you're away. Let's do Sonobus to start with, but Sonobus relies on you. If I can find it. Sonobus will rely on you having an internet connection, not a 4G connection. Doesn't work over 4G because of the way the port allocation happens on 4G routers and phones and things like that. This is Sonobus before you even start, and it says set up audio. So you do the same here. That's I'm now on holiday, or I'm remote, aren't I? You do exactly the same here as we do down the road. Well, I'll show you that in a minute. I say down the road, that's where the radio is. So set up my audio, and it says, what do you want to use? Now I'll put a cutaway on screen. It's a Scarlett Focusrite, and it connects to these. But I've used, cheap gaming headsets. It's not as good, right? Mechanically, they're not very nice. They don't work very well, but I use these, okay? And that's got my microphone and my headset. And that's my sound card. So I'm happy with that. I've set it up, and now I can connect, and it wants to know where to connect to. So you can just create out of thin air a connection group. I just use M0XXT. I have a password in here, and I want to be displayed at the other end that this is the bunker. It's a family name for this room, okay? And I just connect to the group, and it's now just waiting for something else to happen at the other end. So we'll shut this down, and I'm now going to use TeamViewer or Chrome Remote Desktop, it doesn't matter, to connect to down the road. Down the road being where the radio is, okay? There's a button here to maximize the screen, so it's just like I'm where the radio is 5 miles away, and this is my desktop. You can do things like minimize various things. So far, so good. Now we'll go and get Sonobus again. And here we are. We've seen this before, but now I'm 5 miles away, okay? And you can set up the audio, and I've set mine up for the 990 look and the 990. Now, by the way, it can be a bit confusing because at one point in time, a speaker becomes a microphone and a microphone becomes a speaker. Right? If you do what I said about configuring your sound card appropriately, you won't need to think about it. You'll just connect to it. So we're going to connect. And my display name is Holly Farm. And I connect to the group. And now you'll be able to see when I tap this microphone here that my levels are changing from the bunker. And I've got a latency of 59 milliseconds up and 126 milliseconds down, or whatever. I happen to be sending in stereo because I've got the two VFOs. So I can now minimize this. There's no audio yet because we need to get to the radio. So I'm going to file up. We did this earlier on. ARCP 990, Ham Radio Deluxe, Log4 OM. Whatever you want to control your radio with. That's the point. Okay, well, it wants to be switched on. The power is already on. 10 minutes ago, before I started recording, I got my phone out, fired up my Shelly app, and hit PC, the TS990, the 12-volt power supply, and the ACOM. There's a particular trick on the ACOM. You'll see the ACOM relay at the very top. That is a relay that connects pins 5 and 9 on the remote controller together, and that kind of kicks the ACOM. You don't need to know about that today. I made a little video about it anyway. Now, I can hear a little bit of noise coming out of these. So what we'll do is we'll swap over between this microphone here and this microphone here.
Roger, Roger. Echo Alpha 3, 1, 2, 3, correct? Roger, Roger. Echo America 3. Radio Tango in Spain. Very good evening.
I'll just do a little test. We're just going to transmit. Watch the transmit on the top right, because this is all set up for Vox, you see. Because let's get on and go. We'll play with push to talk. Hello. 1, 2, this is a test. 1, 2, this is a test. A little bit hot into the ALC. The frequency has just been, just checking the frequency is clear. Mike 0, X-ray, Tango. 1, 2, 3, and we're just testing push to talk. Now we can hit the monitor button. We can actually hear what we sound like coming out the back of the radio. Listen. 1, 2. So that is the latency. Not much latency, but a tiny bit. M0XXT, I'm now cleared. Thank you. So I said push to talk. I mean, the other way around the push to talk button, you can see I've got a button I could just hit send, and I've gone into transmit. If you look at the top left of the ARCP, transmit, not transmit. Now, I did develop a macro so that when I'm just typing in my logbook, when I hit, I think it was F11, it went into transmit. F12, it stopped transmitting. And on a 990, if you're interested, that's TX01 as an ASCII code that you do from N1MM. And to put it back into receive, I think it was just RX. But most macros would, you can talk to your radio, can't you? All right, so now, if you want me to do a full demonstration of how to create and sort Skype accounts out, because you don't want to use this, or you want me to do it with Discord servers, I can do that. And there's also another program or product called Jammy, Jami. I was really stuck on holiday and couldn't get Sonobus to work because I was using my phone. I couldn't get Sonobus to work through a phone, and so I found Jammy, a peer-to-peer, and that did stereo as well, because I'm particularly after stereo, you see, for the two VFOs. If you've persevered this far, you deserve a blooming house point, certainly 5 stars, But maybe I've just inspired you. Next year you're going on holiday or something. I'll start to organise that, start to think about it and how it is. And then you can start to bolt on extras. So one day you might want some other toys. So I've got an antenna switch here, which is actually talking via Ethernet out to the field. So I can switch up to 8 antennas. I've got other things as well. For instance, the ACOM remote control software by James M0YM, who just lives up the road from here actually. So we could connect to the ACOM and it's ready to go. I can put it into operate with that button, I think. And there we are. And if you watch my live streams, I cut the screen up a little bit. So it looks slightly different, but it is this screen actually. Rolly, hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Joel. You're 5555. 555, Joel. 55.
Yeah, 55, Rolly. I'm on the little Rapide, the little baby one. You'll notice that I'm using my ACOM 2000 by 990, and I have a full experience. That's the point. It's not a cut-down experience. Okay, well, what we think we'll do now is just before you go, if you want to stay there, let us show you exactly how I shut this down. So I'll power that off there. Put that into standby. Close ACOM Director. I'll shut this down here. I'll log off. It says switch use. I don't want that. I just want to shut down. Now then, the computer is at the bottom is only consuming 3.9 watts. So we can switch that off because I know that is definitely stopped. The TS990 is down to anywhere between, it looks 4, maybe 10 watts. It's still plugged in, you see, to the wall. So we'll shut that down as well. Power supply is 27 watts, which seems a lot considering it's doing bugger all. But anyway, we'll switch that off. And the ACOM mains is keeping the heaters, keeping the tubes hot. But since I haven't used it, I know it's not on a cool down process. So I'll switch that off as well. And now Holly Farm, it says it's down to 0 watts. It is completely shut down. All right, hopefully that's given you some inspiration. Any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my very, very best to hunt them down. I didn't need any help doing this. I just kind of found my way slowly. But hopefully I've inspired you to just go out and go, okay, that seems a pretty good way of doing it. We'll have a go. All right. Have a great day. Enjoy your remote control. See you next time. And don't forget to subscribe for the notifications for my live streams. All right. All the best now. Bye for now.